This week, we celebrate the 2-year anniversary for Biblical Shaker Blogspot. We have covered over 19 books of the Bible and have posted over 200 devotions and prayers. We just pray that the Lord will expand our territory so that everyone would have a chance to read the Word of God and study it and to know the importance of it. So thanks for checking in this week as we continue the reading of Isaiah, chapters 40 through 44. You have been invited to read one chapter a day with a corresponding devotion written by our salt shakers. Jane and Jeannie bless us this week with the thoughts. As I have stated before, the first 39 chapters in the first half of Isaiah carry the message of judgment for sins. The 27 chapters in the second half of Isaiah that we are now beginning to read bring a message of forgiveness, comfort, and hope. This message of hope looks forward to the coming of the Messiah. Isaiah speaks more about the Messiah than does any other Old Testament prophet. He describes the Messiah as both a suffering servant and a sovereign Lord. The fact that the Messiah was to be both could not be understood clearly until New Testament times. It's so much easier because we have both the Old and the New Testaments to read. In chapter 40, Isaiah now speaks of events that will occur after the captivity. God tells Isaiah to speak tenderly to them because they still had some tough years to go through. He then foretells the coming of the suffering servant, Jesus Christ, and describes his life and death with incredible detail. A favorite verse from this chapter that is heard frequently is verse 31 that reads, quote, "But those whose hope is in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not be faint. They will walk and not grow weary." Chapter 41 introduces Cyrus, who is noted as, quote, "the one from the east," unquote. He conquered Babylon and was responsible for the decree releasing the exiled Jews to return to Jerusalem. God used a pagan ruler to serve his people and fulfill his word. We should have no reason to fear. Quote, "Fear not," unquote, is often repeated in Isaiah, and we see it frequently in chapters 41 through 43. God is with us no matter what the circumstances, and he strengthens us and helps us no matter what the task. He holds us as he helps us and will not forsake us because he made us and redeemed us and we belong to him. The last chapter read reminds us also of God's faithfulness, the pointlessness of idolatry, and the redemption and rejoicing when Jerusalem would be restored and the temple rebuilt. I have to close with some facts about Isaiah that shows how God spoke through him as a prophet who foretold information. Isaiah called Cyrus by name almost 150 years before he ruled. Later historians said that Cyrus read this prophecy and was so moved that he carried it out. Isaiah also predicted that Jerusalem would fall more than 100 years before it happened, and that the temple would be rebuilt about 200 years before it happened. It is clear these prophecies came from a God who knows the future. Let us continue to read his word next week. Please join us because Biblical Shakers makes reading the Bible way more enjoyable for you. And I pray that the Lord will put a hunger on your heart.